Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Andrew here, and this one is for really anybody who's building a sound in their own track and wants to just add a little bit more movement or something so that it doesn't feel like the same instrument the whole time. So let's go ahead into the Logic session. If I sound a little bit sick, I was congested last week. It's clearing out, so hopefully my ears will be back to normal. So here's the sound that I'm going to show you, a subtle thing that really brings it to life. Cool. So obviously what we're hearing here is somewhere in the realm of house music. I've talked to a lot of my friends about just how many genres of house music there are. And this isn't just for people making dance music, but you could use this in your hip hop beats or in your rock instrumentals you're working on with your band in a program like Logic. Really, you can use this a bunch of different ways. And here's the basic idea with it. If I bypass my first oscillator, it's going to sound pretty static in terms of the sound. All right, so the idea is that you have a sound that works in your track, you think it sounds pretty cool, you want to just add a little bit more, and you don't want to build an entirely new sound, and you don't want to go and try to find a sample that feels like it already fits your track. This is a really, really simple method. So if you take any LFO, I'm using LFO 1, and I have it really just a flat line at the bottom, not doing anything until it peaks at the very end. I have the speed set to 1 bar or 1 measure. I'm slightly behind the 4th quarter note, which would be here, so it's a little bit sort of swung. Now I have that tied purely to FM from B. So when this peaks up at the very end of each measure, it creates that sort of wub sound. Now you could do this for, again, a bunch of different sound effects, like or sounds that you're building that you want to do something crazy, but like just at the end, or you want the sound to change. Use an LFO like this. So again, a whole bar, I have it triggering, so it starts when the MIDI hits. If I want this to be on the same, the beat, since the MIDI, my second bass line, I'm coming in 8th note early. So if I have it as triggered, like I did in the beginning, the wub is at a different time. That is if we turn it back on. So if I want that to be on the same beat, I'll turn off trigger, and the sort of idea with that, or I go to off, is that measure is just going regardless of what's happening on the MIDI, and so that wub is always going to be at the same spot of the measure, if that makes sense. So you could try this with all sorts of different effects. Let's say I don't do it with FM, and instead I want to do something really kind of weird. I could take LFO 1. So you may have been looking around SERUM and you may have come across this like global patch. You can actually improve the quality of SERUM. Caution, that's going to be harder on your computer. You can also play around with some of the other parameters, but we have these chaos LFOs, I guess we could call them. And so what if I want to use that? I would have to go into the matrix. I could go into global chaos 1 rate, right? Could be something that we control. That could be LFO 1 doing that control. Could change how much we're controlling it by. Now we're not going to hear anything because the chaos knob isn't controlling anything, but for fun, let's have it do something. So chaos 1, what would be something that's not going to be too insane to sound? Well, why don't we have the chaos knob control the FM? So if I go into oscillator A, it's a warp. All right, let's hear this. So that is not working the way it should. A warp. Let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Go back to a warp. There it is. So what's really crazy about the chaos knobs is it seems to be chaotic since they're not the same each time. So they're going to change a lot. And then once again, with our matrix, we were actually controlling the rate of chaos 1. So we're messing with it even more. Cool. But once again, any sound, it could be a preset as well that you get. You plug in MIDI, it sounds good, but you want some movement. Use an LFO that you haven't used much. You can add like nothing when the line is at the bottom, and then you could add effects that are really noticeable, like FM from B, any of these A or B warps. You could bring in noise. You could be using an effects parameter like a distortion. That actually would be kind of cool. If I go back to LFO1 on my distortion rate, it's going to kind of highlight what I was doing there. And then let's get rid of that stuff. Did I just get rid of my... Oh, there we go. Cool. So you can really start to make the bass talk a little bit or add some subtle movement to it. If you have any questions for me on that, I'd be happy to answer those. You'd help me out a lot by subscribing to the channel. I hope that SERUM tip helps you, and I will see you next time. Cheers.